questions.
Okay. We'll just kind of go down.
Yeah. So when people, when there's kind of a lull, hey guys, anybody here? Hi, Ruthie. How are you? So when there's a little lull in the conversation, we can kind of go off of the cheat sheet here. So, hey guys, we're going to wait for some people to join. So can you let me know if you can hear us okay? Just leave me a quick note.
This is all new to me. This is like my first time. I try to tell my kids, like, I'm going to be famous on YouTube. They were like, yeah. What are you making for dinner?
Exactly.
I'm very impressed.
I love it.
And I'm sure there'll be a link afterwards. People can watch afterwards.
Yep. So it's going to record it. And then once I get it up on YouTube, I'm going to put in the links to get in touch with you.
Okay.
Directly. Perfect. So that people can just.
You don't want to answer all the questions and schedule for me?
You can do that yourself.
I have a new scheduler. Her name is Melanie. She'll be taking all calls and questions.
Exactly. You can hear me still working here, but on in the background. Okay, awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Let's see. You used to tell me how many. 3, 4. Okay, we've got some numbers going up.
That's so nice that you can just kind of watch that.
Mm-hmm. So typically it takes people a little while to show up. So I think once we maybe have 10 people here, we'll just kind of get started.
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
Because of the replay, it'll be nice. They can watch it all back.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey guys, Penelope is here also, and she's probably going to pop in and out. So got the little snort crew here. Oh, so nice.
My sister loves pugs.
Does she?
Yeah, she would die.
A little pug person. Huh. They're so hard to resist. I just love their little faces. And she's such a schmoozer. Oh my gosh.
What is your personality? Are you snuggly? My little puppy is so snuggly.
Mm-hmm. That's the best. I love her snuggles. She gets tired and she squeaks. I love it because she's not a huge barker like Mr. Kong is. So.
Well, I think any dogs too, when someone new comes to the door. That's how Bailey is. I'm like, if you would just be quiet, I'd let you hang out. Yeah. He has to like attack everybody and then saunter off.
Yeah. Like, he's like, I'm just going to wreak havoc here and then I'll see you guys later.
That's why I get better.
Hi, Lulu. Hi, Michelle. You love the pugs too.
Hi, everyone.
Lisa, hi. Lisa, are you going to help me moderate a little bit? Hi.
This is like
welcome.
Perfect. The screen is away. I can actually see it without my glasses.
Yeah, I know. Meanwhile, I'm nearsighted, so I'm like, hey, what are the questions? You know it. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Is it Leanne? Is that how you say your name? Is it Leanne Jordy? Hi, Leanne. So we have 20 people here now. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, yeah, I got it. I think we're going to go ahead and get started with some of the questions. I'm going to have Norway. We have people here from Norway. Hi. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to have Amy do just a quick introduction, kind of tell you a little bit about her background, how she got into doing this. And then I do have a bunch of the questions that you guys asked on my filler video. So I have those written down just in case we run out of questions here or there's some things that I think are kind of worth addressing. So yeah, we're gonna kind of go from here. So leave your questions and I will watch for those and try to remember what they are. So Amy,
hello everyone. So my name is Amy Bartram and I'm the owner of Medical Rejuvenation here. And I've been in medicine for a very long time. So I have been a nurse for over 20 years. And then I went back and got my master's degree at George Washington University. For those who know, DC is where that school is. Got my master's and then joined Providence Cardiology here in 2015 in Portland, Oregon. And so on my own, I started getting the training and education for the Botox and dermal fillers. I was so curious about it. But because my background was emergency medicine, I stuck with cardiology. And then just little by little, started doing Botox and dermal filler. I actually started off thinking I would always do it part-time, but my business just grew and grew, and I kept learning more things. And then COVID hit. And so I have 3 teenagers, and we did the scramble that everybody did, March through June or July. And I was working full-time and working my business on the side. And then I realized that nobody was going back to school in the fall. So I had to make the hard decision to leave Providence. And now I'm doing this full time. So it's been a lot of fun, and it gives me a lot more time to bring on new clients and learn new things and techniques and skills. And I think we'll talk a little bit about things other than just dermal filler, threads, maybe Kybella, all the things that go with aesthetic medicine. So I'm really excited to answer these questions. There's a lot of questions that I get pretty much every time with new clients. All the questions are kind of the same. So this will be good to go through, and there's no wrong questions. So put out the questions that you want to talk about or things you're curious about, and I'm happy to answer those.
Awesome. Thank you. So I have been seeing Amy for this summer. It'll be 2 years, I think. And I started out with Amy just going and getting the Xeomin. So you guys know that I get the Xeomin in my forehead. I personally do 40 units, 20 just in my, these are glabellar. Is that what you say?
Yeah, no, okay, between the front lines are glabellar.
Yeah. So, and mine were like, they were serious. And even with, like, you can see they're like, but I get 20 just there. And then the remainder of the 20 is kind of spread throughout the rest of the area. So, and now I'm to the point where I think I'm about 5 months between touch-ups. It holds up really well on me. And I was going to have Amy share with you guys why the Xeomin is kind of amazing, because she does offer the Botox and the Jeuveau as well, but she talked me into the Xeomin the first time, and I'm so thankful because I really think that it was like the best possible out of all of them.
Yeah, it's my favorite as well. And Melanie's right, I carry all of them. I like Xeomin because there's no accessory proteins on the molecule. So the molecular weight is a little bit lighter. Some people get a little bit of a headache with Dysport or Botox. And now Jeuveau, that's our latest tox that's on the market. And some of it might just be because your muscles are trying to get used to not being able to move, but also it is a heavier molecular weight, and your body has to break down those proteins. So with Xeomin, you don't have any of these unnecessary proteins. You can't build up a resistance to it. It just creates a really natural look. It's not for everybody. So for my clients who have really thick, heavy muscles, sometimes we need to move to something a little bit stronger like Dysport. But for myself and for probably 75–80% of my clients, they love Xeomin. It's a very natural look if that's what you want, but it still holds you for a long time. So like Melanie was saying, it's probably every 4.5 months. So it's nice. You know, you think about getting treatment every probably every 3 times a year, every 4 months, and it's a little more manageable.
Yeah, I like that I don't feel like I have to go in like 3 months on the dot because everything just kind of stops.
Right.
Like I noticed that it's like a very slow progression of the movement coming back. It's never like, boom, I wake up one morning and it's like back to the way that it was. It wears off really, really slowly. And what's nice is when I do go in, like as soon as it gets in, like it just immediately, the next day I notice that it's back to the way that it was the last time that I did it. So it's really kind of an awesome new thing. And I love it. And I always, whenever people ask for recommendations, whether on Botox or Dysport, I always tell people just to start out with the Xeomin, just because I've had really great response to it. And I have pretty strong forehead muscles. Like these things are, I mean, you guys know my expressive face. I just really feel like it has done the best job of keeping things looking probably not the most natural, because I have it done in a way where it does lift up here just a little bit because I like that shape for my eyes. I know that some of you don't like it, and that's fine, but I really like how this part here is kind of lifted a little bit. I have never done anything around here, and I kind of feel like I don't need to. So for me, the forehead is just fine. And then obviously we did the Revenus on my lips lately. And actually last week I went in and had Amy inject just a little bit more into my lower lip, because once they were all healed, it looked really great, but my lower lip was just a tiny bit smaller than the upper. So she balanced it out really nicely. And then Penny's really trying hard to get in here. And then I'm going to show you what she did for my little Cupid's bow area here. So when we get to the lips, I'm going to show you. But we did just a couple of threads, which I've never done before.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I thought I was going to kind of pass out from the pain because one of my girlfriends had it done. She was like, that was the most painful thing I've ever done. But she also wasn't numbed up when she did it. So she just did it.
And did we do, we didn't do any, I know we didn't. Actually, I just add up. So I've added on since then where I'm doing a little bit of lidocaine at the entry points of the threads.
Smart. Yep.
They're a little pinchy without that. So.
I know, yeah. Because when you had numbed me up for the bottom lip, you also popped just a little bit on the upper lip. And I think that's what helped with it not being
It's a little pinchy. And this is the first time I'm seeing them.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Yeah,
I think
really good.
I'm really happy with how they turned out. And I'm so happy that we just did just that little bit more. Yeah. I will say my lips were swollen for a couple days longer this time than the last time, which was interesting. But now it's like completely gone. Like the bruising was almost non-existent. But the swelling, for whatever reason, lasted like through the weekend with this one. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. But I'm really happy with how they look now. I think they're perfect, and this is just what I would maintain.
Yeah, it just kind of fits your face.
Yeah.
Looks very natural.
All right. So do we have any questions yet from anybody?
So I think while you're looking through questions, one thing that I want to talk about is with the Xeomin. So Melanie's been very consistent too. So sometimes people will ask, well, do you need less and less tox? Tox being Botox, Dysport, Jeuveau, or Xeomin, right? That's what we're saying when we need tox. And it's not that you need less and less, it's that your muscles actually atrophy, which is kind of an interesting word, right? So imagine you break your arm and your arm's in a cast or your leg's in a cast. The muscle actually atrophies. And even though you don't want that on your arms, your legs, in your face you do. So that gives you, and if you haven't had it before, you'll realize this when you get it, or if you have had it, your face gets really smooth. Like it's just almost like a really smooth appearance. So it also, not only does it stop the contractions, but the skin actually smooths out because the muscles are thinning underneath. So, and it really does activate quickly. So I do mine every 4.5 months. I actually just did mine yesterday before I started work. I was starting to get lines, and I already feel like, I might have some movement, but it looks activates really good. Really quickly when you keep up with it. Yeah. But again, I do full strength, and I do every 4.5 months, and it's fine. So
it's like plenty. It's really neat. Like it took me a long time to commit to doing any of the like toxins or anything like that. But once I did, I was like, I kind of wish that maybe I would have started it a little bit earlier because I feel like it would have prevented the lines that were really starting to like
they smoothed out. Really
and thankfully, like they really kind of smoothed out. But like I was telling you guys before, my mom, she doesn't do anything. It's not her thing. But her lines are like, they're so deep because I think we have insane head muscles or something, but like her like 11s are really, really strong. And I was talking to Amy and I was like, if my mom were to do anything, I think she'd have to do filler first because those lines just get so deep over time that even with the toxins in there, like it can't completely release that crease that has formed over time. So you can definitely do something with it, but
well, I think one thing or an important part of the tox is it works in your muscles. So sometimes it's a hard thing to understand is why is it not changing the top of my skin if I already have lines? And it's because it just stops muscle movement. So if you look at yourself in the mirror, absolutely no expression, that's your tox face. So if you already have lines on your skin when you're completely relaxed, those are called static lines and a little more difficult to get rid of. Now, I had already started to develop static lines when I started. I think I started when I was 43 or 44. I'm 47 now. And I definitely, if you go to my Instagram, you can kind of see pictures of me before. And they all went away. So it's not that you can't get rid of them. It depends how deep they are and how long they've been there. But to Melanie's point, sometimes you have to do a combination of tox and filler to correct that. And you can do it. Depends how far. You really have to go to your provider and have a conversation about that. So
for sure. So, hey vegan prophet. Flat Earth Moon Dancing with Fish. How are you? Okay, you guys, I think since we're not getting any questions on here yet, I'm going to start reading through some of the questions that you guys left earlier. So, and then Amy will just answer, and if you guys have things that pop into your head, let me turn my thing off. Okay, so what are the best questions to ask when making the decision on lip filler? But also, I guess you could kind of apply it to the tox as well.
Yeah.
Maybe if you could just address both, because I think those are the most common things that people have done, I feel like.
Yeah.
So what do you think would be the best question to ask a provider when going in for the very first time and you're overwhelmed and like, what do I need? How much?
Right.
How does it work?
I think, assuming you're just going to go into someone who you got a recommendation from, it's good to know how long they've been injecting. Then we'll address this later, but you have to have a medical degree, at least here in Oregon. I think most states you have to have a medical degree to inject. So you have to be a nurse or a physician's assistant or a physician or a nurse practitioner, like myself. So it's good to verify that, make sure that they are a medical provider, but also I would just ask, what has your experience been? For me, it wasn't as hard to get into because I've been an emergency nurse for 15 years. So, working on mixing products, injecting people, looking for irritation, allergic responses, that was all my background. Where if you go to a medical provider where maybe they worked in a high school office, it's not going to be the same experience. And it's not that they can't become an amazing injector, but not the same background. So right now, aesthetics is exploding. We're just seeing like an incredible growth where, I think there's just enough people, compounding factors, everyone talks to each other, and now everyone is wanting to have services or at least get consults done. So because of that, there's a lot more providers wanting to get trained. And so I think it's just good to go in and just ask, what is your experience? And beyond that, I think it's fair to say, what do you recommend for me? Here are the things that I would like to get corrected. What do you recommend? Because we don't expect our clients to know about all the different products and where they should be placed. And that's our job to do. So I think just once you feel comfortable about what their experience is, and ask for some before and after pictures. I think that's really fair to say, hey, can I see some of the work you've done? And then what they would recommend. And I think it's, totally fair to say, I'd like to get kind of a summary for what the prices would be and go home and think about it. Because sometimes we see the pictures on Instagram and we don't realize that that's actually $5,000 of work. Yeah. It's not 10 units of tox. It's not one syringe of filler. For me personally, I do 65 units of tox. So I do the sides of my face. I do my forehead, my frown lines. I have filler in my lips, in my cheeks, in my temples. So, it's good to know what the cost is and just have some time to digest that, because I think the number one problem is someone will say, well, hey, I have $400. What can we do with it? And if you try to spread that money too thin, what's going to happen is you're still going to spend the money and you're not going to like the results. Yeah. So I'll see that people coming to me like, oh, I got a half a syringe to start, or they did 20 units all over my face and I didn't really like it. It didn't do anything. Well, the reason is because it wasn't the right amount. Yeah. So I think, and
I think sometimes it takes more than what you are anticipating. Like I really thought that one full syringe of the Revanesse would be like plenty. But like once we divided it up between the upper and the lower lip, like that really ate a lot of the product. So I did need just a little bit more on the lower lip, but it was still an amount that I was comfortable spending, but I definitely thought like, oh yeah, one syringe, totally do it. But you're right. As soon as I left, she was like, I think you're coming back.
It's a small amount.
It's a small amount. Yeah, it really is.
One syringe is 1 ml. So let's think about what a teaspoon is. A teaspoon is 5 mLs. So one syringe is 1/5 of a teaspoon.
It's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
No.
So, and that's another thing. People will say like, oh, I don't want to look like the Kardashians. I don't want people to know. I don't want to have these really huge lips. And, my answer is, trust me, you're going to wish it gave you more, because one syringe is just the softest. We'll kind of just fill in your lips.
It's a very pretty look. It's a very pretty soft look, one syringe. Like it's not a lot of product, guys.
Yeah.
It sounds like it might be, and when you look at the syringe, you're like, oh yeah, that's big. But
it's bigger,
it's really not. So, I did see that we had a question here. So, a question about fillers. I have lines that have formed around my mouth due to the pain from a chronic illness. What is the best way to correct that?
Yeah. So around the mouth is tricky, because we don't want to stop our muscle movement around our mouth. So some people get just, normal lines. Like I'm starting to get lines down here just from like smiling, or I have like pucker lines around my mouth, or people have smoker lines, or just from talking. And also we lose bone. Right? So we have bone reabsorption in our jaw. So as we get older, the lips start to curl in, the jaw gets smaller, and so everything kind of goes inward. So it's really a combination of tox, a very small amount of tox to just slightly relax those muscles, and then also a little bit of filler. Now, I have plenty of people who don't want filler in their lips, but we just use filler just to line the outside of the lip, put a few drops of tox, and just relax it. You can also use threads as a different thing, which are basically just sutures that go under the skin to stimulate collagen. But I like to tell people, when you're talking about anything below the nose, outside of the lips, we're looking to just soften. This isn't surgery, right? We're not cutting tissue. We're not suturing anything. We're just softening because you're still going to have that dynamic movement. We're all going to talk. We're all going to smile. We're all going to do all the things that make those lines. Or if there's constriction from pain that you're having, that's probably not going to stop. So what can you do to just soften it so that you're a little more happy with how it looks? And I think that's probably the most realistic expectation.
Yeah. So just a little bit of tox with just lining the outer part of the lips.
Right.
So the threads, do you think the threads would be the best for that?
To be honest with you, I've just started doing threads this year, and I like to be very honest about what the outcomes are, how long they last. And so I'm really kind of waiting to see. Yeah. Now, if you talk to a thread company, they'd probably say, absolutely, threads are the only way to go. We're going to have to wait and see. Thin threads last about 3 to 6 weeks, depending on how quickly your body breaks them down. It's really just to stimulate collagen. So will I be putting threads like around my mouth to help with the fine lines? 100% I'm going to. And I'll check back in a year. Yeah. It's one of those things where you do it every 2 months, and you just are waiting for your body to build that collagen up. So I can't give you 100% answer either way. I'm still testing it out for myself to see how much I like that.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Love that question. They look like they're smoker lines, best for liver. So do you think the Revanesse is the most ideal for doing that around the lips?
So the difference, we haven't talked about this. So the difference with Revanesse is that it's a pre-hydrated filler. So think of filler like a dry sponge. It gets put in your body, and then your lymph fluid is attracted to it. So one of our first fillers, Juvederm. Right? That's the name that everyone seems to know. That draws in a lot of fluid. So I don't like to use that for lining things, because you're going to lose that sharpness, because that's really meant to be more, soft and pillow-like, right? So if you're putting in a line, you don't want to absorb water there. Yeah. Same with under the eyes. When Juvederm first came out, they were putting it in the tear troughs, and they realized pretty quickly, and some people still put it there. I don't myself, because you can get puffy eyes, right? Yeah. So Revanesse is actually washed for 7 days. That's kind of their secret formula. So it's washed and washed and washed, where all the molecules become really nice and round, and all the fluid is absorbed. So the product that you put into the body, it stays that way. And so that's why we're seeing a little more of a crisp edge with Revanesse. You can line the lips really nice with that. So it would just depend. It depends on what your lips look like. Are they really fine? Do they have a little bit of room? There's other products too that we use. I don't know if you've heard of Bellatero. That's another one that doesn't absorb a lot of water.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. It's fascinating. Okay, just considering. Let's see here. What if you have very full lips naturally, but your top lip is kind of flat, so you don't want fullness, but a touch of poutiness? What would you suggest for that?
Yeah, so yeah, that's great. For those lucky ones who have nice natural full lips, it depends. So you can add, that's a place where you could use like half of the syringe. You know, so we do have people that have just this beautiful pouty bottom lip, but a really small top lip. So absolutely we'll use like a half of the syringe there. Or you could just line the lips too. Or I'm sure many of you have heard about a Botox lip flip. A Botox lip flip is just putting a little bit of toxin, doesn't matter what brand, on the edge of your lip to relax the muscle. So sometimes I think it's a little bit of false advertisement because it's not a really big, bold lip flip. You're literally just relaxing the muscle above the pigment that you see in your lip, and that just causes it to kind of curve up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's a nice thing to do too.
So fascinating. Okay. What are the risks with filler for someone who has an autoimmune disease or autoimmune issues?
Yeah, the risk there is that your body's going to attack it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So big no-no.
Well, yeah, yes. I mean, for most injectors, I mean, the problem is that even though, I mean, very, very, very few people relax hyaluronic acid. It's very similar to what we have in our body. It's a, you know, just kind of a soft gel substance, has a little bit of sugar in it. But people with autoimmune, their immune is fired up.
Yep.
So you put a needle in the lip, that sends a signal to the body to wake up, something's going on.
Yeah. And
now you're putting a foreign body in there. So personally, I would say, you know, that's probably not a good idea to do. The good news is you can melt filler with enzymes. So if you're someone who's like, oh, I've been dying for filler my whole life, I don't care if we have to melt it, I'll go ahead and do it. You know, it's not going to be life-threatening. You might swell up and have to have it melted, and now you're out hundreds of dollars for no reason. But my medical recommendation would be probably not to do it.
Skip it. Yeah. I think it's better safe than sorry when it comes to stuff like that. So sorry, Samantha.
Yeah.
How about a brow lift with threads? Do you think it works? Which thread and how many?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're hearing a lot about threads. It's kind of all the rage right now. There's two ways you can do a brow lift with threads. You can either use the really small ones that we use in the lips. They're a little bit different than the ones in the lips. But if you're talking about like the fox eye brow lift, those are put just to give a little bit of tension to the lateral part of the eyebrow. And it just holds for a very short amount of time. It can be a couple of weeks even. Or you can put thicker threads in that have barbs on them that actually can snag the skin, the tissue under the skin, and lift. And those would last a lot longer.
So when Amy put the threads in my lip, she gave me the extra one that was left in there to bring and be able to show you guys. So I just thought I'd show you the threads that she put in. Of course, I lost that. So this is what it, and I have an actual thread here too. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but this is what, there we go. This is what it looks like. You can see it's like almost barbed. That goes into the lip and she pulls out the needle. The thread stays behind. This is, you guys are not going to be able, well, maybe a little bit. There.
Oh, there
this,
you go.
This is the thread that is in my lips, just right here at the top. So it was just an insertion over here and over here. And it really just kind of crisped this line up a little bit. And honestly, now I lost it. That's fine. You've seen it. Finally lost it.
And it's gone.
I know. I kept it for like almost a whole week. So, but yeah, these are the really small threads. So the bigger ones, how long are the bigger ones, just for reference?
Yeah, you can go anywhere from 2.5 inches to 4 inches.
Ooh, yeah.
The 4 you're really thinking about, you know, like jawline,
probably,
neck, cheek, eyebrow, 2.5 inches. Yeah, even 2. Depends how big your forehead is. Yeah. They're small, and this is a perfect example. So when Melanie was in, I was like, let's just do it. Yeah. And I'm waiting to hear from her, and we're just going to have to wait and see. Because I think for me, when you have a procedure, the price has to equal the outcome, right, and the discomfort of the procedure. So, you know, if we have a procedure that works amazing and we all love it, like Tox, for example, we're willing to scrape together our pennies and find a way to pay for it, right? But if you have something that only lasts 3 weeks, maybe it's not worth it, you know? And so I've heard a lot of different things on the thread. Some people are like, oh my gosh, it's the best, I love it. And other people are like, it lasted for 3 weeks. Yeah. So I really, it'd be good to know and just see what you think.
Yeah. So far, I really like the definition that it gives. Really, but I think the thing is, for most people, they're not going to be willing to be patient for those fibroblasts to start kicking in and for that collagen to start building. Like I feel like this is one of those long-term things. Like you got to do this for
it's maintenance.
Yeah, it's like a maintenance thing. Yeah. So once you do it for a while, you really start seeing the benefits, and you probably don't have to do it as often. But it's, like just like the Botox eventually wears off, how the filler eventually wears off. It's one of those things where if you want to maintain it, it's another one of those expenses, and you have to see if they're worth it for you. I think that I really like the way that it looks, but I don't think it's a necessity for me, because like you said, I think my lip shape was pretty decent to start with. Yeah. So I think it was just nice to see what it would do, but I don't think this is something that I would probably maintain. I'm very curious about threads, probably a little further down the road, once the sagging starts really kicking in, and just kind of lifting things up. And I mean, knowing that it takes a while to see the results, like, that can kind of help me gauge like when to start to sort of preempt before it gets to the point where I'm like, oh, this is going to take a lot more than just a few threads to like.
And that's what I talk with my clients about too, is and kind of more and more, what is the long-term game plan? Because we can always do stuff on top of the face, but what are you doing to get under the skin? So if you're someone that doesn't see yourself having a facelift or a partial facelift, and you just want that kind of gentle, natural aging where you're doing a few things, but you're still maintaining, we're not cutting anything. Yeah. Threads or Sculptra or a product called Radius, those are all products that stimulate collagen and they go under the skin. So I like to talk about it as, what is your kind of your 401k of your skincare, right? Yeah. You're not going to see it bam right now. You're going to invest. So once a year, pick something, put a little bit of money aside every month. And once a year, and actually, I think I'm going to do Sculptra on Friday and videotape it. So
I'll be curious.
Sculptra is all collagen growth. There's no filler, but I have a very thin face, and so aging is harsher on us. We don't have any fat in our face, and so it basically just goes in there and it fills. And it was actually created for patients with HIV who had facial wasting, and it worked. Yeah, it worked so well. They took it to the FDA and said, "Hey, can we get this approved to use for aesthetic purposes?" And the FDA approved it.
So, no idea. Yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah. That's really cool that they did that for those patients, though, because I remember back in the day, it just like you could tell when people had HIV and AIDS, like it wasted their bodies away. So, okay, be sure to give this video thank you. Yes, thumbs up, please. Hi, EJ, thank you for coming. So I don't see any more questions popping up on the side, so I'm just gonna keep reading from our list here. Yep. So going back to the very first question that I asked, what do you look for in terms of good signs or red flags in a consultation? I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I feel like maybe the red flags, I think, are almost more important.
Sure, yeah. I think that it's important to recognize and respect aesthetics as a medicine. It's an injectable medicine. And, there's a little bit of a temptation, I think, in our society to make it like going to the nail salon, and so because there's such a demand for it, and of course, businesses always are about how can they make the most money. A lot of the complaints I hear is that they go to see someone and the provider is rushed, or they don't even meet the provider. They meet an office staff who, kind of just, they feel pushed or pressured. Somebody else gets everything ready. The provider comes in and is out in like 5 minutes. Now, that doesn't even mean the provider doesn't have the skill. To me, that's a red flag, because I don't think that the same units, for example, Xeomin that I use for Melanie, is not going to work for the next person that comes. And I think there's a little bit of a temptation right now just to turn aesthetic medicine into, going through the drive-through. And I get to just drive in and get whatever I want and leave without realizing that, one, Botox, Dysport, Xeomin, you can't reverse it.
Mhm.
That's for one, right? And two, these are things that you're injecting into your face, and I think that it deserves a thorough consultation, even if it's on the same day you get treatment, but that you have FaceTime
Yeah.
with your provider. You know, I think everyone deserves FaceTime, and that would be my number one red flag. If you know you have a good medical provider, that's awesome. Are they willing to give you FaceTime? Because if they're not, then to me that says they're more about profit than about procedure. And so then you're going to be rushed and everyone else is going to be rushed. And a lot of these places don't even have guarantees. So you leave and you don't like it, and they're like, well, that's the contract you signed.
Yeah.
You know, and you're out $800. So that would be the number one red flag, as long as we get past that, you know, you have a verified medical director or provider doing the procedure.
And another thing that I just want to say, I see a lot of people on YouTube injecting themselves with Botox who I know are not medical professionals. I feel like it's different for you to inject yourself because you know what you're doing. But I do see a lot of like DIY threads, DIY Botox, DIY lip filler, and that stuff just makes me very nervous because there's risk of occlusions, infection. And you like people have had their noses fall off. People have had their lips like get really infected. I really, if this is something that you cannot afford to do, I think my biggest takeaway for today I want to be is please don't do this stuff yourself. I think you know, if you really want it, I think it's worth saving up for 100%. But I really recommend going to a professional. And one of the things that I really like about Amy is she spends time with me. When I went for the very first time, she literally walked me through. Oh, Jesus, sorry. She's gonna hang out. Like she took the time to explain everything to me and like didn't rush me. And there wasn't this like pressure, like you got to do this today and you need this and you need that. It was just, you know, like, first off, let's start out very conservative, very slow. You can always come back for more.
You can always come back for more.
And you were just so good about answering questions. And it really, like, it made a big difference for me because I had done some consultations at a few other places and was like, I don't know. And they're like med spa type places. So here, I'm going to take her off because she's such a maniac. She just comes right in. She's like, hey guys. All right, do we have any questions that just came up? I'm curious if Amy has heard of the Saluma brand red light therapy and get her thoughts on it. Do you know much about red light therapy?
I don't. So I focus just on injectable medicine. I know there's a lot of great lasers out there. I know IPL laser is really good for the skin. I know people like red light therapy. They like hydro facials. In fact, myself, I know that I need to be getting something, you know, because I have aging skin too. And it's just, you know, like all of us have a hard time finding the right time. But no, I don't do any lasers or red light because it's just me. So I just focus just on injectables. Do you plan on keeping your practice really small like this? I don't know.
It's probably a tough decision, huh?
So what Melanie's referring to is I started off, it's just me. I turned my office into a treatment studio. I'm going to start injecting at a salon in Gresham because they have like no injectors out there. So it probably isn't going to be me all the time, but I'm going to help them get started. And I just took one nurse under me, but she has her own practice. So I'm just kind of guiding her through it and helping her. I have a new marketing director that's going to help me now that I'm doing this full time. And she's like, I see you in 6 months opening your own place. But, you know, I think where I have to bring myself back to is I still have a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old at home, 18-year-old in college. And that was, you know, I've been in the hospital for so long. It's really nice just to be present at home. Even though I'm busy, I can sneak out and, you know, make a quick sandwich for them or just be present. So I'm just going to see how it goes. I mean, maybe in 2 years, once my youngest has her license, you know, maybe opening a place. I don't know. I don't know.
Exciting.
I personally like taking really good care of the people I have. I'm not necessarily, I will always keep it that way. So we'll just see if we decide to go bigger and just bring other people under me. I never want to get to the place where I feel like I'm running from person to person. I just think that's bad care. For me.
I love the way that you have it set up right now, but I could also see, you know, just like a nice, sweet little spot for yourself. But I love the fact that you keep it just to where people feel like they can have a connection with you. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is being able to have a connection with someone. I think if you don't have that, I don't trust that person. Like I don't, and if they're going to inject my face with things that could potentially go horribly wrong, I really want that to, I want to trust that person a lot.
Yes, definitely.
Penny does hate attention, Lisa, you're right. Ooh, Amy, you were amazing.
Oh.
What is your favorite type of filler, procedure, or toxin to do?
Ooh, boy, I love doing talks because it's just a slam dunk every time. It's just amazing. People feel so, we all work hard. We're parents, we're working, we're running ourselves ragged. And it is nice just to feel did not feel like sometimes I want to feel more tired inside than I look on the outside instead of being like, gosh, I know
I feel
tired,
great.
but I don't feel that bad. My face looks, I mean, that's really where I was getting before I started everything. I was like, oh my gosh, like I know I'm worn out, but like this morning, honestly, we just feel like we look in the mirror, it's just like, gosh, there's just not enough makeup. So I love doing talks. I don't know. I love doing cheeks. Like I feel like cheeks can give a really nice contour. Lips they're hard work. I mean, I'm definitely very focused and dialed in on all my injections. But you imagine you're working on someone's face and then their lips, and lips are all muscle. Yeah. So we're asymmetrical. We have muscles that pull lips down. It's challenging and fun. I mean, I don't know that I have one favorite area. It's all a lot of fun, and I just have such great clients. Like
I'm gonna keep coming back. For me, I think my favorite thing to get done is the talks, and here's why, you guys. The lines that were in my forehead, I hated my makeup collecting in those lines and feeling like I needed to like wipe out each, because I had 3 very prominent ones that were starting to form. And every day around like 2 p.m, I'd have to like go into the bathroom and just take a tissue and wipe the makeup out of each of the lines, and then the one that was forming in the middle here. And I just think it was like the easiest little refresh that I've done that really isn't, I mean, it's definitely an expense that I have to account for with my budget, but it's not such a huge expense to where I'm not comfortable doing it. So it's just a very easy, very simple thing. As long as I maintain it, I never have to deal with wiping things out of my lines, which is something that I'm super grateful for. Like I hated that part. It was like when I didn't have my brows micro shaded and I was spending every day of my life filling in my brows because I had like 3 brow hairs left after 1993. So, for me, just getting that done, like I wake up in the morning and everything is just easier and quicker. And I feel like I spend more time doing other things now versus like thinking like, oh, do I have to go check my face to make sure that, I don't have a pool of, powder foundation in my forehead lines.
I think it's a nice way. Definitely we have the younger generation is coming. Yeah. Right. I definitely have the 20 and 30s that they just want the brow lifted. But outside of that whole new generation that's coming, it's really nice for, I think 35, 40 is when we really start to feel like, oh my gosh, because everything happens at the same time. It's like, even though the process has been happening over the past decade, 2 decades, it seems like it hits all at once. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I have bags under my eyes. I have makeup and lines in my face. I'm starting to get jowls. My lips are disappearing. And it is kind of hard. I mean, And I think, you know what, I always tell people, and if you're going to ask my favorite area to tox, is the front, like these frown lines, right? Yeah. Because if you did nothing else, and I understand it definitely still is an expense, absolutely. But if you did nothing else and you spent $250 every 4 months, just getting your 11 so that you don't have these like harsh lines, that don't do anything else, but just get rid of that, so that, because that's what people are, they're talking to you in your eyes, and people complain about their mouths and their jowls and all this stuff. But the reality is people are looking in your eyes. They're not paying attention. Everything else is just a blur. And so, the question is, could you budget $250, divide by 4 months, and maybe there's something else that you could pull it from, and just as a special thing just to do for yourself. And you'll be amazed, honestly, it just that alone. And then if you don't want to do the forehead, just get bangs.
Yeah.
It's a real cheap way to cover those up.
Yeah.
You know?
My bangs would be stuck to my forehead because of my like oil producing mega house here. So okay, so let's see here. I live in Boston and my sister-in-law just got Botox in her 11s and could not believe what a difference it made. She's 41. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, it's like it's night and day.
Yeah.
And it just like it helps me look a lot less angry. Honestly, I would get comments all the time about, Melanie, why are you always so upset? Why are you always so angry? And I'd be like, I'm not. Like, I'm fine. But it was because of my like just incessant need to like just squint. And I'm also extremely nearsighted, so that also, you know, added to the angry look. But it just softened everything and I really like it. And I like how you can play with it. Like, you know, we can place it slightly differently to just kind of play with the shape of the face a little bit, which I think is kind of fun. So I like that. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the certain allergies and the fibromyalgia with regard to toxins or fillers. Are there any other severe allergies that you think people should watch out for?
Really, it's your provider's responsibility to know this. But a big thing is milk, cow's protein, or like if you're allergic to the milk fat for dysport.
Interesting.
Yeah, just for that one tox.
Interesting.
The nice thing about Xeomin is you don't have to.
Yeah, because it doesn't have any of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Good info on fillers. I agree. Very good info. Okay. How long do fillers typically last?
Yeah,
and does it last different in different areas, such as the smile lines or your lips?
Yes, to all of it. So think about filler is like a gel, like a hair gel, right? So imagine if you put hair gel in your hair and then you go out to the beach or you go in a wind tunnel. Like it doesn't last as long as if you're just sitting in a room and not moving, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing for filler. Our mouths are constantly moving, right? Some of us more than others. And so you're basically working that all the time. Where when you put filler under your eyes, it just sits there. Or like my temples, I put filler in my temples, it just sits there and I'll get that done like every couple of years, right?
Wow.
So, and I just have a skeleton face, so not everybody needs as much filler to soften things. But yeah, so definitely it lasts a short amount of time in the areas of your face that you're moving, like jaw, right? Kind of constantly moving your jaw. Different type of fillers. So some fillers are very fine, powdery thin, and others are like ice cubes and they're thick and they're strong and they have calcium in them and they're going to last much longer. So you can go all the way from like powdery thin, and some products like the Bellatero. So when I first started injecting, I was using Bellatero to line the lips, and it just like disappeared. I mean, it just doesn't last long. Now I can put Bellatero under the eyes, and it will sit for a year or two. Mm-hmm. So it's really, and that's kind of part of the experience of your injector too. And having an injector that has a nice portfolio of fillers that doesn't just use one, right? Like and knows how to use them. And also the amount you use, right? Mm-hmm. So if you do a half syringe in your lips without anything, you've never done anything else, it's going to be gone in a couple of months. I mean, so versus like someone who, you've built up your cheeks over time and you have 2 or 3 syringes each side of your cheek. Now that's probably going to sit there for a couple of years. Yeah. So it's the amount, it's the type, and it's the placement.
It's the placement. Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, so a couple questions. I have chronic Lyme. Have you seen any issues with toxins or fillers regarding to Lyme?
I personally haven't. We don't see a lot of Lyme out here.
No, we don't.
Yeah. East Coast.
It's an East Coast thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. East Coast, they have a Lyme. So I don't have much experience with that. Again, I would just say toxins and fillers are extremely well tolerated. I mean, I've had people like with toxins say, I'm allergic to everything. There's no way I'm going to be able to tolerate this, but I really want it. And so we'll put like a 1 unit under the skin, right?
Just like to do like a test. Yeah.
I've never, ever had anyone respond to it. And I think you'll be hard pressed to find in all the literature. I mean, you gotta realize they put tox in the throat for esophageal spasms. Yeah. We put it in the neck and the scalp for migraines. I mean, it's used for cerebral palsy. It's used for, muscle disorders. I mean,
so far beyond just the aesthetic.
Oh my gosh. So far beyond. Yeah. So
interesting.
Filler's a little bit different because it's something that's sitting there and the body can attack it, but you can just dissolve it.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
Awesome. Okay. So,
Yes, I'm East Coast. Oh, Lyme disease.
Yes.
Is the worst. Our dog had Lyme disease. Oh,
Really?
On the East Coast, yeah.
Oh
Got super sick.
no. Ugh,
Yeah.
that is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Let's see here. C my 11s, no wrinkles, not a 1, almost 40, no wrinkles, full face, but bad dark circles under my eyes and melasma. Hopefully there will be injectables for those issues. Do you?
Melasma is hydroquinone. That would be Obagi.
Hydroquinone, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's more skincare products. Yeah.
Dog fur all over me, guys. I'm sorry. I don't want to eat it. Okay. I started Botox in my early 50s, 65 now. It helps tremendously. Fillers in my later 50s. Going to get a bit of help with my lips this week. Ooh, congratulations. My lower lip is disappearing. Yes. It'll bring it back right away. It's magic. You leave and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a good one. Thoughts on fat dissolving injection for a double chin?
Yes. Okay.
I'm excited about this.
Yes. Okay. So hopefully I'm not going to get in trouble for this. This is a really interesting topic. So Kybella, most people know Kybella.
Yep.
So Kybella was actually I'm going to use chemical names here, so just bear with me. Kybella is phosphatidylcholine and deoxycholic acid. Okay, and you can Google active ingredients of Kybella and it'll bring up those two names just so you don't have to try to scribble those down. Those products have been around for a long time and they were used for fat embolisms in our circulatory system. So actually injected into our circulatory system. Well, Allergan, brilliant company, would never say anything bad about them. They're brilliant, they're rich. So they said, well, look at this product over here. Oh my gosh, we have a product that dissolves fat. Oh my, this is like a gold mine, right? Good for them. They took it, they reduced the strength by quite a bit, and they brought it to the FDA and they said, we want this approved for under the chin. Well, I think they had a little bit of help because Lipodissolve, the same ingredients, has been used all over the country for dissolving fat everywhere in the body. Right? So there was probably a little bit of a like, why don't we get this FDA approved for under the chin? Lipodissolve has never been brought to the FDA, so it's not FDA approved. That's important to know. But it's the same exact product. It's just that you have to pay a lot of money to get things FDA approved, and you have to do studies with it. And so Allergan said, we're just going to do a study just for this area under our chin, and we're going to make it much weaker. Okay. And so it got approved. So it is 10 milligrams per ml, where the generic is 50. Okay. You can get it either at 25 milligrams or 50.
Big difference.
Big difference. So I had a call today from a client. She said, do you offer Kybella and Lipodissolve? And I said, yes, I offer both. What is the charge? And I said, well, I charge $600 per treatment. And she goes, oh, I just called VIP MediSpa and they're offering $600 per vial. Okay, so let's talk about that. So a vial of Kybella is 2 milligrams. There's 10 milligrams in each ml, so it's 20 milligrams per vial. So people will do that. They'll go to a Groupon, they'll go somewhere, and they'll buy $600 for each vial, which is 40 milligrams. $1,200. Lipodissolve is 50 milligrams per ml. So I'll often put 250 to 450 milligrams in the area for the same amount of money. Right? Because you know, unless you have just a teeny tiny little extra that you need a lot more. And so I think, and this is where I hope I don't get into trouble, because Allergan is very rich and they have really great attorneys. So let's just keep this between us.
So, but they both do the same thing.
It's the exact same product. Literally the exact same product. So a while ago, because I'm all about saving money, like I have no problem writing scripts for my clients to get generic Latisse, because I'd rather them spend money on Tox, right? I could sell Latisse, but I'm like, why? It's the exact same product you can get for $35 and spend the money where you need it, right? And so I did the same thing. I found a pharmacy in the area, a compounding pharmacy, and I said, hey, do you mind compounding this for me so that I can save my clients money and get them resolved? It's still expensive, right? I mean, $600 is expensive, and if you have a fair amount that you want dissolved, it's going to take a couple of treatments. And even Lipodissolve, it is only going to break down about 10 to 15, maybe 20% of the area. Now, chin, you can get probably better results because it's such a small amount. But when we're treating the belly, we're treating the thighs. It
means a lot.
It is a lot. And I always tell people, look at your body. If you're someone who's working out and you're eating healthy and you're like, I just want like a 10% tightening, it's really great. If you have 100 pounds to lose, lose as much weight as you can. And when you're getting down to the last little bit, because there have been studies on liposol. You can find them online, easy. Just Google liposol, dissolving body fat, and you can find great studies. But it really seems to be limited to about 10 or 15%.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it doesn't just suck all the fat out of it. I think because there's a lot of fat that's not just surface.
Yeah.
It's all in our bodies, and it's much deeper than just what we're seeing on the surface.
Yeah, for sure.
So
there can be skinny fat people.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Which I like, that took me a long time to learn. And once I started reading into that, I was like, oh yeah, she might be thin, but take a look at the inside between the organs. And
she might not have muscle structure or heat. You know? So there's your little tidbit. Don't turn me in.
All right, let's see here. Any other questions? Going cheap is not what you want to do with your face. No.
Right. And I think too, like a lot of people are injecting themselves. You have to have a medical prescribing license to buy. So unless you're a nurse practitioner or a doctor, unfortunately, physician's assistants can't even buy it.
Really?
It's how their medical license is written. I think it's unfortunate, honestly. But so people that are injecting themselves are likely getting a product from another country. And I think you just need to be careful with that.
Yeah, be very careful with that. Where does the filler go when it fades away?
It is metabolized.
Yeah, so your body just eats
breaks it down.
Yeah, breaks it down.
Yeah.
Okay. Any concerns for people that are prone to bruising? Anything that someone can do in advance of a treatment to minimize the swelling or
bruising?
Yeah, bruising after.
I bruise. People with light skin, light eyes tend to bruise the most. You take arnica.
Yeah.
So arnica pills are really great. I usually send people home with arnica tablets. And just avoid alcohol, avoid aspirin, Motrin, fish oils, anything that could possibly thin your blood. And it's not contraindicated. I mean, we all know that we've all heard about a Botox party where people are drinking wine and having Botox. And yes, I have done that as well, right? You just have to know you might bruise.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to hurt you. You just might bruise.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That arnica on. I love that stuff.
So good.
What does the wear down on lip filler look like?
Oh, like as far as their irregularity, and
does it wear down evenly?
No, not necessarily.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, because watch people how they talk. Some people, I swear, they talk with one side of their mouth. They'll use one lip, or they'll always like pull the other side to the side. Yeah. And so it's movement.
That's so
right.
Interesting.
So you can metabolize a different area, and so you can either decide. What I like to do with my clients is I like to do some filler every 6 months. So you just kind of look and see, where does it need to be? Are you starting to lose some here? If you have a real irregular, like one side of your lip is literally deflating, then it might be time to go ahead and just dissolve the other side and start new. It's pretty uncommon though. Most people, if you get your lips where you like it and you just maintain it, it's usually not that dramatic where you're gonna have, it's just gonna start melting off one side of your lips. Yeah.
Are the lips stretched out? We talked about this a little bit. Yeah. Are your lips stretched out after it wears off?
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, if you're getting 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 syringes in your lips. I mean, right? For those of us who have had a child or 3, none of us want to like scrunch up our bellies and show you all the extra skin. I mean, right? Yeah. So, I mean, if you just get 1 syringe or 2 syringes, you just maintain it. It doesn't change.
It doesn't stretch it out.
But, yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. If you gain 200 pounds and then you lose 150 pounds, you're gonna have extra skin. Yeah. I mean, so that's one thing that you have to consider. There's some people who want really big lips, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you don't maintain it, you are gonna have some extra.
It's 3 o'clock.
Okay. OR nurse for 47 years. Too many vessels in the face to try and do these things yourself. Bad things can happen. Yeah. Thank you for another nurse's opinion here, because this is something that really concerns me, that I see a lot on YouTube, where I'm just like, it disturbs me that YouTube doesn't take these videos down, because I think that there is so much damage that can be caused by doing this stuff yourself. And I don't think it's worth the risk. Like, I really just don't think it's worth it. So, I'm going to keep stressing that.
A very good comment. Yes. And to that point, a lot of times we use cannula in the face and we don't use needles. So, you really want to be with a provider who's, again, not rushed.
Yes.
And that who knows their products and knows how to reverse it and knows to watch for signs of the worst case scenario, which is a vascular occlusion. And it can happen.
Yeah.
And it does happen.
And that's scary. And it's nice that if it does happen, if it's with a person who knows how to deal with it, like at least then you can address it. But doing it at home and hitting something and maybe not realizing it or realizing it kind of late, I mean, that's, like, don't mess up your face for this. It's not worth it.
You know what? And I think this is a good point. You need to be able to get a hold of your injector at any time.
Yeah.
So when you are considering getting filler done, how are you going to reach this person if you wake up in the middle of the night of your injection, and you're in severe pain? And you have to be able, and all of my clients know, they have my cell phone. They know they can call me at any time and, get a hold of me. And you need to feel that freedom to reach out to your provider too.
For sure. If you have filler, should you be concerned about using things like radiofrequency, microcurrent, LED light therapy, or any other at-home therapies or modalities in the specific areas that you have had treated?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there's so many treatments and therapies out there. Most therapies are pretty superficial to just the top layer of skin, right? So we always say, when you're thinking about getting laser, red light therapy, hydrofacials, all the things, wait like a month after your filler. Give that, because when we put the filler in, sometimes we're putting it deep. We call it periosteal. We're putting it on the bone.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's pretty super, it's subdermal. So we're putting it under the skin and under that fat. So you're going to have inflammation. Let that just kind of settle down and calm down and kind of integrate into the tissues. And then you can start your treatments again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the radio frequency or the microcurrent shouldn't affect, if you have in your smile lines or something like that.
Right. As long as you let that kind of integrate into your tissue.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it should be good. Okay. That's good to know. That is very good information. I think we kind of already talked about how many syringes it takes to treat things like smile lines and lips. So the lips that you see on like Kylie Jenner or a lot of those other
how many syringes?
There's probably a lot. Yeah,
there's a lot of syringes. So it's different for different people. Like for me to have lips that big, it'd probably be 5-7 syringes. You know what I mean? It's a lot. Some people start off with big lips and then it's like 4 or 5. I mean, I really don't. That's not my clientele. I mean, I have a few that want a little bit bigger mold, maybe 10%. But I think the majority, and the really good majority of clients, you'd be surprised how many people get filler that you have no idea about. The majority just want things to be soft. They just want to look a little bit soft, a little bit refreshed. Really quick though, my mind jumped back to what you said. I'm hearing some people buy these devices, and maybe it's like home devices of microcurrent.
Yeah, they're home devices.
So with the thought being, if I can contract my muscle, I'll tighten up my muscle. Okay, but remember, we're doing the opposite with tox.
Yeah.
So think about, to me, that's a little bit backward in the sense that muscle contraction is what makes the lines. And so I'm not a huge fan of contracting the muscles all the time, especially if you have any kind of tox in the area. So filler is think of filler as like a padding. But if you're thinking about and I don't do this myself, so I don't know if you do it around your eyes or. Yeah,
so I actually specifically avoid the forehead because like you were saying, I'm like, I don't want these muscles to get strong again in any kind of way.
Right.
So
do the opposite of what you want.
Like I'll use it around my eyes here. Because I don't have any Botox or filler or anything like that. And I use it around the smile lines because, again, there's nothing there. But I'm also careful just to avoid the lips very, very carefully.
Just really quick to say that. Yeah. So if you were someone that had, if we treated her crow's feet, you're going to wake up those muscles. And a lot of times we don't saturate all the muscles with tox, right? Because we're trying to, not use just what's the amount we need to use because every unit costs money. So if you have half of your cells that are not blocked, and half that are blocked, and then all of a sudden you start creating a microcurrent that's contracting the ones that are not blocked, it's gonna do the opposite of what your tox is trying to do, not having them move. Yeah. So something to kind of think about.
So you're defeating the purpose.
Yes.
So I know all of us have all of these devices, right? And they're super exciting, but I do think it's important to to look at what you're
Yeah.
doing and just make sure that you're not undoing the things that you are paying a lot of money
to do.
to have injected into your face. So
Yeah.
definitely something that I'm glad that you went back to that. So a lot, I feel like we've kind of already like covered some of these. We talked about how long the threads last. So not like a lot of lasting power with the threads, but the idea is stimulating the fibroblasts. Yeah.
With the small ones. So your thin threads that go in the lips, around the smile lines, anywhere in your face where you're getting just some laxity. That's done every 2 months. To me, that's not realistic. So I tell people every time you come in and get your tox, if you're a thread person, let's put those threads back in. So every 3 to 4 months. The barbed threads are a lot different, right? So the barbed threads are going much deeper. You've seen some of those videos for people who have a strong stomach to watch those videos. Those are going a lot deeper. Writers with lidocaine, people are not, but they're going deeper. And now those have some barbs on them that can create some pulling power. And that really stimulates collagen that then builds up and can last, in 1 to 2 years. It just depends on your body how much collagen you
1 to 2 years.
build
Okay.
with that.
That's a little bit longer than I was thinking it was. So that's interesting. Okay. Do you guys have any other questions at all? I'll give you guys a second here just to come through, but I think we went through most of these. So hopefully this was helpful for you. I really appreciate Amy coming and answering these questions because I know a lot of you have an interest in this. And it might be intimidating to go and meet with an injector because you don't know if they're going to be pushy about it or anything like that. So hopefully this informed you just a little bit more in terms of what questions to ask, kind of what to expect roughly in terms of pricing. Although I will say it seems to be very different in different areas of the country.
And even here.
Yes.
We have some places around here that charge I'm kind of 10 to 12 per unit, and I think Skin by Lovely is up to maybe 17. So it just depends what you want. If you want a real bougie clinic to walk into in a downtown area, you're going to pay for that experience, right?
Yeah.
I think Westland Aesthetics is kind of getting up there too. So, but yeah, absolutely. There's different prices in different areas. And so it's interesting because you don't want to go cheap, right? But then sometimes, you have someone like myself where I have a home studio. So I don't have the super expensive overhead, and I can wiggle room a little bit more with the prices. I don't want to name any names, but I just think it's good to shop around both for making sure you gel with your provider, but also for prices, because sometimes you'll just go to a place and think it looks beautiful, and you'll end up, because we all use the same products in America. There's only 4 toxins out there, so the product is exactly the same. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see here. What was the new filler you talked about for the lips?
Oh yeah,
let's talk about that, because this is what I have in my lips.
This is the latest filler for lips. It was just FDA approved.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I think maybe a lot of you have heard about Kiss with Galderma. That was the one that was right before this. Everyone wants to have their lips done, right? Or the majority of people do. So Kiss is a really great product, but this is on the Reveness line. This is the hydrated filler. And it's one of my favorite ones. It just performs really well. It, you're not drawing in a lot of water. You don't get a gummy look. You have less chance of migration. And to talk about migration, filler does migrate. And this is something, probably the most important thing to talk about is, we see the Instagram pictures, the best of the best. Sometimes I feel like people edit their pictures. I try to be very real on my Instagram site. So you're going to see people that absolutely had no lips. You're going to see people that, they're not perfect lips, but they're better than what they were before. And so sometimes I feel like, we're seeing edited pictures on Instagram. You're not going to see that on my site. But this just works really good. And so what I like to tell people is, when you're injecting your lips, it's the most sensitive area of your body, there's a lot of nerves, you're going to swell, you're going to bruise. So if you are thinking of getting your lips done, do not get it done within a month of an important event, a wedding, family vacation. Are your lips going to be 100% healed in a month? Yes. But what if in 2 weeks they're healed and you need to get something, adjusted or tweaked? Then you're kind of stuck, what do you do? So if it's a big event, shouldn't be done within a month. If it's just a family vacation or you're just going somewhere and you can do any adjusting afterwards, 2 weeks. But don't get your lips done 3 days before you are going to be a presenter on something. I mean, you're going to bruise. Yeah. Some people bruise worse than others. You are going to bruise. You're going to swell.
You're going to swell. Yeah. 100%. I think the swelling is worse than the bruising, because the bruising you can almost cover up, but the swelling, like when your lips, like mine, were like out to here.
they do. They feel kind of funny. And so, and bumps are normal. I have bumps in my lips, and I could dissolve it myself. They were pretty pronounced at first, and now I can't even barely feel them, and I don't really care enough because you can hardly see them. So our lips are a muscle. The muscles move filler around. It just does. So go in with a really realistic expectation that you might get lips done 3 times in a row, absolutely love them. The 4th time, it might not settle right. And that's okay. As long as you have an injector who guarantees their work, so that if they need to, and I tell people, I keep lots of Hylenex on board. Maybe it's one little area when you smile is a little more pronounced. Then that should be adjusted, in my opinion, for free. And not all injectors will do that. That's actually a big thing. I have people come to me and they say like, oh, I went back and the person said like, oh, it's fine. It's normal. Bumps are normal, and wouldn't adjust it at all. That's common. Yeah. So
that's too bad.
It is too bad because it's an expensive thing. Yeah. So just be realistic.
You want it guaranteed. I will say they're very soft. I really was expecting my lips to be like hard or to not feel natural in any kind of way. But they're not that you want to come play with my lips, but like you could touch them and they feel like real lips still, which is very, very nice. The name of the filler is Revenus.
Yeah, it's Versa.
Revenus Versa.
Revenus Versa. Yeah, for lips. Yeah. Yep.
So that's it. And so this is their latest. They literally just launched it for the lips. Yeah. So specifically.
Let's see. We got like our little goodie bag. Yeah. What do we get? Our drug rep brought us our little goodie bag. Little stand-up sign.
Signage.
We got our little headbands that we're both gonna wear. There you go.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Should I wear this in this week's video, you guys?
T-shirt.
That's so cute. It's a pretty blush pink, I would say.
Is
I'm a sucker for marketing because I have a business too. So whenever I see really well done marketing stuff, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, just all the fun things, right?
Super fun. Little swag. So fun. Yeah. Let me just see if there's anything else that popped up. How young is too young to get fillers?
That's a great question because I have a 16-year-old who
is she asking you?
Oh my gosh.
I can imagine having a mom like you and be like candy store for a girl.
Gosh. And I'm like, absolutely not.
Good mama.
So the latest ask, I doubt she's watching because I'm just not cool enough for them. But she was like, oh, just do a little bit. Nobody will know. I won't tell anyone. Just like a little bit in my lip. I think legally it's 18, but FDA it's approved for 22, I believe, 22 and over.
Okay, so there's an actual age with the FDA for it.
It's just hard. There was a really good, there's a really great company, international, called Consultant Clinic. They have a lot of fun things that they post, and they posted a really good, I took a screenshot of it because it was so good. It basically just said like, you're young, you're beautiful. Yeah. If you're 18, you're beautiful. Like, don't, it's hard to say because I'm getting close to 50 and it's like, oh my gosh, if you're in your 20s, you're so gorgeous. I get it. Everyone wants to do all the things, the lashes and the lips. And so I don't, I think it goes back to when you're 18, you get to make a decision if you want tattoos and piercings and lips. I mean, you're kind of an adult and it's really not my opinion at that point. Yeah. But I just like to encourage people to, it is trauma to the lips, and to be fair, this has not been out that long. We don't know what the end result is of getting your lips filled for 30, 40 years, right? Yeah. We don't know. Tattoos have been around, so it's in the world of medicine. This is very new, very new. Yeah. But do I get filler? Yes. So, I don't care what I look like when I'm 80. Yeah. I'll be all like, needled up and saggy.
Yeah. Just facelift at that point.
Yeah.
Just pull it all up.
Just pull it all up and cut it off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. I think that's everything. Does Amy have a YouTube channel?
I wish I was cool enough to have a YouTube channel. You know what? I am kind of a one-person show. So, I mean, I work all day with my clients, and then I do the best I can with Instagram, which is like, give me lots of grace on my Instagram because it's just me. So I just don't have time to do that. And maybe someday when I have, I'm cool enough to have someone videotaping for me and just taking the time to do this. I mean, I'm usually just injecting all day. Yeah. So it's great. And I'm super happy to do this, and we'll come back and do it again. But for right now, I just don't have the time. Yeah.
So hopefully someday soon we'll get Amy hooked up with, I will link her Instagram as well. So when this video is over, I'm going to go and edit the description box, put everything in there for you guys. I will put the contact information for Amy. So if you are in the Portland metro area, she's very easily accessible from, I feel like, anywhere in the Portland metro area. So even if you're in the Beeve across the river, I think make the trip over. It's totally worth it. She'll be amazing. So I will put all of her contact information, the Instagram and everything in the description box down below. So come back and that will be filled out. Make sure you guys go follow her on Instagram. And if you are looking for someone, honestly, I cannot recommend Amy enough. She has just been fantastic these last couple of years in walking me through this process. I love that I get a natural, I mean, this isn't natural, right? Like this is altered in a way, but I feel like I still feel like myself. I look like myself, and there's never any pressure to commit to doing anything. So if you are looking for an amazing injector, this lady right here, I think she's going to be a good go-to for you. So I wish that everyone from everywhere could come see her because I think you would absolutely love her. So thank you so much. Hi, Steph. My friend Steph is here. I haven't talked to her in forever. I miss you, Steph. And thank you to all of you guys for tuning in today. I really appreciate all of the questions. And if you have any questions that pop up after this video goes live, leave them in the comments. I will gather them together and get answers from Amy to respond to you guys. Yeah. So if anything else comes through, let me know, and we will we'll get your questions answered that way. So
awesome.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And
thank you, Melanie.
Yeah. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo. Okay, get out. Yes.